Welcome to day 4 of Creative Week at Art and Soul Cafe. I've experimented with a lot of art forms over my life: oil painting, acrylics, textural arts and macrame, watercolor, calligraphy, mosaics, collage, the list goes on, and I've enjoyed each and every one of them. It wasn't until about 10 years ago that I stumbled onto mixed media, and it has become my art form of choice. Throughout today's tutorial, I hope you can feel my love for this art and anyone can have fun with mixed media. I hope you play along with me as we look at 5 techniques to try. Bear in mind that these are samples done on 4.5 by 6-inch watercolor cards. When you decide on which techniques to try, you'll be using them in a larger work, on a Faith Art journal page, on a canvas. So they will be part of a larger whole. So I hope that makes sense. Um, our steps and supply sheet is available to download on our website's printable page. Tomorrow, we're going to incorporate the tools and techniques we've talked about this entire week into a mixed media faith art journal. For now, here are some ideas to get you started on your way. Our first mixed media technique is painting backgrounds. And with this, we're going to look at 2 tools that we haven't utilized this week that might be helpful for you. The first is a brayer, and the second is a jelly plate. Now, a brailer is a hard roller. It's typically used in printmaking. We begin by squeezing a little acrylic paint onto our piece of watercolor paper and spread the paint with the brayer. It's fun to move it in different directions and see what kind of prints we can get. Squeeze paint onto a paper plate, roll the brayer in the paint, getting lots of paint on it, and apply. In this instant, I've used a brown paint for the base, and then the top is painted in a gold glitter paint. This is a jelly plate, and as its name applies, it's a substrate of gelatin, so it's very soft, very flexible. It easily accepts paint, and it's easy to clean. We've chosen a nice laurel green paint, acrylic paint to apply. After we've poured the paint onto our jelly plate, we use our trusty brayer to roll the paint around, making sure we have adequate coverage on the plate. After the paint has been applied, now we can play. We can draw on the paint or use mark making tools or stencils to create a design. Here I'm using 2 sides of a comb to draw in some lines. The next object I'm using is a good old trusty toilet paper roll. And finally, a piece of corrugated cardboard. We can draw on our paint, we can write words on it, we can even add more paint in spots if we want. When we're happy with the design, We press it down while the paint is still wet to impress the image. For some reason, the green didn't really reflect well on camera, so I did the same. I used the same tools, the toilet paper roll, the comb, and the corrugated cardboard to to create a kind of crisper, cleaner image shown here. During our examination of stencils on day 2, we spent time with different consistencies of stencil mediums. For our illustrations today, we're going to start with molding paste that is semi-opaque and has the consistency of thick frosting. We'll apply a thin layer to our paper to add texture. We've selected a stamp that has an interesting movement going on, and we can stamp randomly or in a consistent pattern. Remember, with the stamps that you select, we're looking for texture, not meaning in this particular technique. Also, remember to immediately clean your stamp once done because dried molding paste will ruin your stamp. Once the molding paste is completely dry, we're going to rub an acrylic paint over the work. In this instance, I'm using a sponge to apply some beautiful copper metallic paint to the texture paste. You don't have to fill in all the gaps, just make sure that you've got adequate coverage in the areas that you want. Heavy gel gloss is another of the mediums that we used in day 2. It dries clear and glossy. So let's mix something up here. We'll use our heavy gel gloss as a kind of resist medium. First, we want to use our regular crayons on our paper. Remember, crayons are wax-based, so they provide a resist to anything that goes on top of them. We've mixed some of our heavy gel gloss with navy blue paint, and we're going to cover our crayon sketches, scribbles completely with this mixture. After getting a smooth, even layer, we're going to use the tip of a rubber scraper to carve out a design. In this case, I'm just doing handwriting scribbles across the page. Keep a paper towel handy to wipe off your scraper throughout the process. This will allow precise shapes and letters. Now, it's going to take a couple of hours for molding paste to dry completely, so you have some time to play. Even when it dries, you can add more paint. Once the mixed media bug really bites, you'll start looking at discarded objects a little bit differently. Ooh, maybe I can use that in my art. And that's the eye of a true mixed media artist. What originally started as just a piece of a cardboard box can become a surface ready to paint or collage. We've just cut off a small section and removed the backing paper to reveal some really cool texture. We'll add black paint through stencils to create our image. Every mixed media artist should have a box full of paper scraps, bits and pieces of watercolor, stamping experiments that didn't go as planned, magazine cutouts, bits and pieces of colorful paper, you name it. This resource will help you build out your mixed media and perhaps provide inspiration. Some of you might call this collage. We call it playing with paper in our mixed media. We'll arrange pieces into our own composition and then adhere our paper with a soft acrylic brush and a light application of Mod Podge. You can decide whether you want to top coat it or use another medium like stamps or stencils to add to your finished design. Layering transparent papers is also a fun alternative. We have on this sample pink tissue paper. We've used a used dryer sheet and also the back layer of a paper napkin. You can see that there's interesting textures on the paper, but they're not really popping. So we're going to add some of our Laurel paint again. We're going to apply the paint onto the layered papers with our finger so that we can pop that texture that's inherent in our transparent papers to the surface. Whether it's visual texture that we have created with the materials in the previous steps or physical pieces of texture, adding texture to a mixed media adds punch and impact. Adding actual physical pieces like leaves, seeds, cheesecloth, drywall tape, pieces of screen, lace, anything that has substance and catches your eye will make an interesting addition to your mixed media. To adhere these, apply a good coat of gesso to the surface of the paper. Lay the elements where you want them. You have a brief time to change them around before the gesso starts to set. Then coat everything again with clear gesso. Remember, you want to choose clear gesso and not white because you want to present your added objects in their best light. Well, we've basically just scratched the surface of mixed media with these few ideas. If you think mixed media looks interesting, please look up the wonderful artists on YouTube and other sites for further inspiration. As always, drop me a note if you have any questions about this or any of our other tutorials. We'll see you tomorrow for our last creative day of creative.